Utah football coach Ron McBride, former Utah football coach Ron McBride, is in studio right now talking football and selling concert tickets. His foundation provides over $461,000 to be exact, $461,000 to support after-school programs at 42 schools spread across 7 districts. And if you want your school to get involved, if your school needs some help, go to the ronmcbridefoundation.org and you can find out where to apply for grants, ronmcbridefoundation.org. You can also go to ronmcbridefoundation.org and you can buy tickets to see the band The Head and the Heart, part of a 3-band show coming up next month at the Sandy Amphitheater, Saturday, August 22nd.
Yes.
Max worried I'm not going to get the date out. He's like, he'd better get the date out. Saturday, August 22nd, Sandy Amphitheater. Buy your tickets online at ronmcbridefoundation.org. I want to talk Utah football with you. We talked with you a couple months ago. You were in studio then. And at that point, I asked you about the Utes and the defensive line. And you said 2 good run-stopping guys in the middle at defensive tackle, and you thought they had 1 elite pass rusher. Now, under Kyle Whittingham, typically Kyle would like 3 players for the 2 defensive tackle spots, rotate guys, keep them fresh. They would like 3 pass rushers for the 2 spots, rotate and keep them fresh.
Right.
There were years they had an embarrassment of riches, and there would be a 7th or 8th defensive lineman who could play. You made the point then, hey, it's spring ball. There's some other guys. They could be good players, but how much do they come along? How fast do they come along?
Right.
So let's see.
Yeah.
Well, nobody wants to see. Everybody wants to know it's going to be great. And I want to know right now it's going to be. I mean, obviously, we're still not quite to summer camp here. We're a week and a half away or whatever. Do you feel any differently about what you've seen or what you've heard from the defensive line, or is that kind of where things sit for you?
I think everything really depends on the D line. I think there's a lot of question marks.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kafusi has to have a big year, and then Chris Malfala's nephew needs to have a big year. Mm-hmm. And then they need to have a 3rd and 4th guy that can fill in. I think the Ross kid will be possibly one. So I don't know what the depth looks like with the inside guys and the quality. I do like one of the DNs. I think is really good, a very good player. And then I'm not sure who the other one is going to be off of spring, but I think that group is key.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2 really good D-line coaches in Luther and Inoki, so I think that they're both really good teachers, and I think they'll develop those guys. I like their linebackers. And I like their back-end guys. I think their back-end guys are really good. Their man coverage guys, I think, are very good, very athletic. I like that group.
If the D-line isn't great, how much can they help them out? I mean, Morgan, when he's defensive coordinator, he's not that far away, right? He's a head coach. He's just a couple steps over on the sideline. How much he was always famous for bringing blitzes, bringing exotic blitzes, making the team hard to block. If the D-line isn't what they're used to having, how much of that can they account for and adjust for with these blitzes, and how much are they really playing with fire doing that? Because inevitably, when you take a guy from one spot, you're leaving another spot open.
Well, if you're moving a lot, or you're slanting, moving, you got to make sure that you get to you don't expose a gap. So, for instance, if the idea in the front is you want to be able to eat up 2 blockers to free the linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
So but if you move a lot and the offensive line on the opposite side is well taught, you can pick up movement. just by, step, let him go to where he's running, and then wash him. And
use his momentum against him when you say wash him. Basically, just keep blocking him in that direction and take him out.
And that opens, it exposes a huge gap. And so what you worry about is if you got a really good offensive line coach, he'll say, okay, they're going to slant, they're going to move. Here's the kind of slants they have, and there's a different type of slants from a defensive front. You can, a penetrating slant, a run slant, depending on what you're trying to do. But the big thing is those inside two guys can't get washed. And so if they get washed, then that means that the linebacker's going to get picked up. So what you got is the matchup is pretty good and the gap is exposed. So what you can't do is you can't expose gaps. And you got to be able to hold, your gap.
That is a big part of how that Kansas State game at the end of last year started going sideways and why it ended up 51-47. I mean, they pulled it out, but they gave up a stunning number of rushing yards. There were a lot of big plays.
Well, a lot of the, like people running just inside zone, inside trap, and people were making a ton of yards just off the inside zone stuff. Yeah.
When you took over as head coach, how big an adjustment was it, and how long before you felt you were really in command? Because the start of your head coaching, the talent wasn't good enough.
No.
Now, when you look at Bronco Mendenhall and Kyle Whittingham, when they were a coach for the first time, and this all leads into, obviously, Morgan being a head coach for the first time, the talent was pretty good at BYU.
Right.
The talent was a little hit and miss at Utah.
Right.
But even as they brought the talent up, because so many guys left after Urban's year, there were guys leaving early, there were a lot of seniors, so there was just a lot of talent gone. But Kyle started out 16-13 in his first 29 games over 2 years and a month. And Bronco was 6-6 his first season, and then just started rolling out double-digit wins his second season.
Right.
And both players, Bronco had a memorable quote, "I thought I knew what I was doing, but I didn't." I didn't know what I was doing, right? Kyle's memorable quote after the first game, I think they won it. They beat Air Force. And he opens a postgame with, "Man, those games are really long." Well, the games are as long as they've ever been, but you were only responsible for the defensive snaps.
Right.
Now you're suddenly responsible for special team snaps and the offensive snaps. So, yeah, I bet, you're dialed in and focused. So both guys in their own way admitted, hey, I got a lot to learn here. And then you could tell from their record early on they had a lot to learn. I don't know if you felt that the same when you first started, and what have all of your experiences mean for where we should set our expectations for more. And I should throw Kalani in this also. Kalani's first 4 years, 27 wins, 25 losses.
Yeah.
Now, last 6 years, he's got 4 double-digit win seasons, and the 2 years he didn't get to 10 wins, he had quarterback injuries.
Well,
that's the only thing derailing Kalani now. So all these people have had something to learn early on. I wondered if Morgan does, and I wonder what your experience was and if you were feeling the same thing.
Well, I think when I took this program, and I figured that I was going to be here for a while, and so we had a plan, and we weren't going to really be in my third year. We would be productive. So I figured we want to build a defense first, then and have an offense that didn't turn the ball over, pretty conservative, and then the second year we were going to rebuild start rebuilding the offense. The third year we should be able to win, and so we stayed with that. And we did. So we built a program based on defense, to begin with. So every good player went to the defensive side of the ball. And then we made sure that we had, we started recruiting great tailbacks and physical offensive linemen and quarterbacks that could manage the offense. And then as we progressed into our, I think it was our third year or fourth year, our first bowl game, and then we were kind of on our way. Then we moved from, the lower half to the upper half.
Yeah.
And so then we were.
So do you think Morgan is set up to be in the upper quarter of the league, maybe the conference title game, are 10 wins in play, or like Kalani, like Kyle, like Bronco, are going to be hard lessons to learn, and you just got to endure a little bit of a bumpy road before you get to where you want to be?
Well, I think that I think they're pretty stable, and I don't think it's a rebuild at any point at Michigan. I think it's a continuous.
Yeah, at Michigan. But what about from Morgan Scalley at Utah?
Yeah, well, Scalley, I think that there are good enough players in place because they got the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
They got the best wide receiver group they've had.
Look at you go, stealing my next question. The wide receivers under you. You had NFL wide receivers playing in the WAC.
Right.
And Urban obviously had wide receivers and they could throw the ball all over the place. And the Sugar Bowl team, Kyle early on had wide receivers. The Sugar Bowl team had a good group of receivers.
Right.
But after the Sugar Bowl, they never really recaptured it. And there were some really lean years for the wide receiver position.
Right.
Is that going to be different under Morgan? Because he's going straight to the transfer portal.
Well, so they took the best receiver out of San Jose State.
Mm-hmm.
They took the best receiver from Utah State. They took the best receiver from Mississippi State. So they got 3 quality receivers that transferred in there. So they've got some depth and quality and proven guys at wide receiver. And they have that tight end slot guy. Mm-hmm. They've got 4 or 5 guys at that position that are all look the same to me. They're all the 6'3", 235-pound guys that can catch the ball in traffic. And so I think their receiving core is really good. And both quarterbacks are excellent. The Dampier kid's really interesting because if you don't protect the edges against him, he's going to escape, and he's going to make a play. And he's a smart kid. And I think the left-handed kid is special.
Ficklin.
Yeah. I think Ficklin's future is...
Well, you said they have the quarterbacks back, and you're on a roll, so I let you go. But it's just so rare to be able to use the plural at that position.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
well, I think the biggest thing is Ficklin and the starter are really good friends. And I think they wanted to stay together. Because I know that Michigan went after Ficklin
mm-hmm.
and offered him a considerable package. And he said no. And he stayed at Utah. And so just having those 2 guys, and I think they recruited a 3rd guy out of Texas that I think is going to be a very good player, and he fits the scheme. So they'll have, it looks like, unless these guys go to the portal or whatever, but it looks like they're pretty stable at that position. And McGivern, who's the coordinator, I think is is very good, very smart guy, and he was my coordinator at Weber, and then he was at Oregon State with Gary, and so I got a chance to work with him again up there, and he's he's an incredible football mind, and he's a very good football coach. And I think the having Bumpus with the wide receivers is a plus. Having Alex and Jordan coaching the offensive line, they have a very good offensive staff. And then the guy that coaches the tight end, that slot guy, is Wells' brother, who was the head coach up at Utah State, and then he was at Texas Tech, but it's his brother, and he's a very good football coach. So they've got their coaches are really good at this positions.
Last thing before we let you go here, Weber State makes the unusual move. And you're a former Weber State coach, and Jay Hill played for you, and he's a former Weber State head coach, so I know you have your eyes on the program, and you're very invested in the high school scene. We really haven't talked about that, but Mac, you're 87 years old, and you're working out kids on the weekend. You're unreal, man.
Well, it's insane. Yeah, it's kind of insanity.
Yeah. But anyway, so Corner Canyon has a great run.
Right.
They have that's a fantastic decade of football. And Weber State makes the bold move, and he's got roots, and we've gone through this in the show before about he's got roots, offensively going back, like one of the cutting-edge minds, and they run cutting-edge stuff at Corner Canyon. And now they're going to do it at Weber State. What'd you think of the hire? How's that going to go?
I think he's a great hire, and he was. It was kind of time for him, and his pluses. He understands the importance of the head coach at Weber understanding Utah high school football. Is extremely important.
Well,
because
Eric Kerr coached at Jordan before he coached at Corner Canyon, so
exactly. Well,
he's got a ton of high school experience.
So Kerr knows the high school players. He knows he has a good reputation, obviously, of developing quarterbacks, developing the passing game. So I think that he was a great hire, not a good hire. I think he's a great hire, and it's the right time for him because he was ready. So I understand that from their spring practice, evidently, from what I hear, at times it didn't go as well as they thought it would. And that they've got to fill some holes, and so I'm not sure where they're at with the whole process.
Well, Jay Hill didn't win right away at Weber State either.
No, but Jay, first of all, Jay, the guy who came in after I left, they really took a huge minus because the program was built for success, and they took it all the way back to ground zero. And then Jay took it; he had to rebuild it again. And he knew where to go. He knew what players to get, and he did. He recruited extremely well.
He knew the Utah high school scene also.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Mac. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.